Hello there and welcome to the first in a series of videos produced by Cumbria Action for Sustainability on the subject of electric vehicles. I'm Kieran and I've been chatting to a few electric vehicle drivers about their experience. In later videos we'll discuss more in-depth and complicated topics like the charging infrastructure and the cost of electric vehicles. This time though we started off simple by just discussing what it's like to drive a battery-powered car as opposed to a petrol or diesel equivalent. Before we start though, a couple of clarifications just to make sure everyone is understood. Throughout these discussions, speakers may refer to EVs, which are obviously electric vehicles. They may refer to PHEVs, which are plug-in hybrid electric vehicles, which are powered by a battery which can be charged by an onboard engine. Or they may refer to ICE vehicles, which are internal combustion engine vehicles, and is a catch-all term for petrol or diesel cars. Aside from that, there are mentions in this footage of a Zoe. This refers to a Renault Zoe, which is a make of small 5-seater EV. And there is a mention of an Octavia, which is a Skoda Octavia, owned by one of the speakers, which is an ICE vehicle. Now for this video I recorded 4 conversations with EV drivers, but due to some technical difficulties, which I'm sure we can all relate to at the moment, we were unable to get video footage for Eugene's conversation. So in replacement for that I've just put in some nice images to tide us over. But with that, I hope you enjoy the discussion and stay tuned for more videos like this, all about EVs. Well, would you like to introduce yourself?
Hi, my name's Richard Waller. I've been an EV owner for about 2 years.
Hi, I'm Amy. We got a Zoe about 2 years ago.
My name is Alex Sykes. I'm a solicitor in Kirby Stephen and sort of live, in and around the Penrith area.
Hi, my name's Eugene Lambert. I've been an electric vehicle driver now since 2011.
Okay, the very first thing that I would ask is, what are the biggest differences, in your opinion, of the experiences of driving an EV and a petrol and diesel car?
I think the first thing that strikes you is the silence. You know, that eerie sense of just pulling away and then driving, and then not having that, not having that engine noise. Which was the most striking thing to start off with. I think it's just more relaxed. There's less, you can kind of just focus more on the actual driving side of things. Or certainly I find with the sort of commute, the regular commute up and down the motorway, that it's just, particularly in stop-start traffic, that the car I've got then it's got sort of smart cruise control. So it'll stop-start, so it'll actually just move along with a slow-moving traffic. And so you're literally just sitting there, not really having to do anything at all. Almost all my cars previously have been in manual. And you just think about that sort of constant thing in terms of having to sort of change gear, having to kind of like slip the clutch and whatever and work with that.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think it's that different really to driving a little petrol car, a little automatic petrol car. But it was a change at the beginning. I was sort of like, oh, am I driving? It's like, I kept saying, it feels like I'm driving a Dodgem. So it was a big difference to me in that it was it felt much more kind of passive. And I found it a little bit freaky at the beginning because you can turn the car on and you've no way of sort of knowing it's on. You can't hear that it's on. I mean, I think the dashboard changes slightly, but it's not, it's not massively significant. So you have to take the key into the car with you, but you don't even have to put it in a slot. You can leave it in your pocket, and then there's a start button to press. And then you just put it in drive and you're off. Ours is set so that if you go below 20 miles an hour, it makes an artificial noise. And it's useful if you need to overtake a cyclist because it's so quiet that they can't hear that you're behind them.
I actually think it's less tiring. If you drive long distance in an EV with less noise, you will arrive less tired, significantly less tired, in my opinion, because of all the lack of vibration and noise. So you're not kind of shouting at the person in the car in the back or next to you. You can hear your music better. It's a smoother, more kind of serene style of driving, actually, because you're not having to hustle through all the gears. You're just going to swoosh around very gently, especially more modern electric cars. They're so powerful. I think they're safer in many respects because, if you're pulling out of a junction and it's one of these junctions onto a fast road and you screw up and stall a petrol or diesel car, that's potentially dangerous. Whereas it's more guaranteed on the electric car. You just put your foot down and go. They're very good up hills and down hills. They're very powerful. They go up the hills well, they go down the hills, and you're recuperating the energy. And if you care about sustainability, it's just wonderful to be able to get all that kind of fuel back, as it were, on the descents down hills.
It was the smoothness and the peace and quiet, quite frankly. You know, you get back into the Skoda and you think, God, what a rattly, noisy, rumbly old thing it is, wrestling with the gear lever and all this nonsense. It just sort of seems a bit irrelevant. With the electric vehicle. You point and press and it just goes whoosh. It's great. The thing that you do need, in a funny way, to be more aware of, particularly around town, is that it's actually very easy to speed in it, because there is no noise there to give you a clue as to how fast you're going. This model, the Zoe, has a limiter on it, so I can sort of set the limiter to 30 miles an hour, whatever it happens to be, and it won't go over that when I'm driving around, and that's a useful thing for that reason.
It is relaxing, but we haven't talked about, the legendary acceleration, that immediate torque, off the line, makes them a hoot to drive. So they're really good fun to drive, as well as being sort of like relaxing to drive.
So does that take a while to get used to then?
I would say it took me a day to get sort of used to driving the EV, and then after that, just because it's fundamentally an easier car to drive, it was a piece of cake. I guess you're more conscious of the wind noise. Or you can be, because I guess your ears are always searching out for something. But then to drive the EV with all of the fancy systems that cars have these days, it's got smart cruise control, it's got lane follow assist, so it'll even sort of hold itself within lanes. It absolutely makes a material difference. It just becomes a very, very much more relaxing drive.
You get used to the quiet, and so it is kind of perhaps slightly more annoying when you hear really loud, big boom exhaust kind of cars. But it's the smell, actually. If you spend years driving petrol and diesel cars, and you might think this is a bit farcical, but I think you become desensitized. But then you start driving these cars and stop going into petrol stations, and suddenly you just start to smell. Like you're walking down the road and you smell the petrol cars. I think you become far more aware of the pollution from them.
I think people make a lot out of the differences between them, and I'm not sure really that in terms of the driving experience, apart from the quietness and the smoothness of the acceleration, the speed of the acceleration, I'm not sure that there's actually, an awful lot to pick out between them. Really, it's just quieter and smoother.